All right, now it's time to grade every season from every Western Conference team to this point as we sit here at the All-Star break and games resume later this week. It's a good way to take stock of everything that's happened for every team in the league. We're going to start like in my Eastern Conference grades. We're going to start from the bottom team all the way up to the first seed. Hopefully this will go by a little bit quicker to where we don't have to do two parts. But we'll see. No promises. Let's not waste any time. Let's get to the 15th seed in the Western Conference, the San Antonio Spurs. And right off the bat, I'm just going to give them a D-. I know the Spurs weren't expected to be good this year. They're going to be in the lottery again. But it's the way that they have gotten to this point that has me giving them a D-. Not putting Victor Wembanyama at center sooner. The Jeremy Sohan experiment didn't bother me too much. I made a video way earlier in the year that I was actually for it, not because I thought he was the long-term answer at point guard, but I thought, why not give your lottery pick reps at playmaking, because I think that'll benefit him down the road when the Spurs get an actual point guard. Now, Trey Jones has been starting, and Jeremy Sohan has actually played very well, but they moved Victor Wembanyama to center finally, which I think that's his best position. Why not do the Chet Holmgren thing and just rip the Band-Aid off, have Victor take his lumps at center? So the Spurs have been playing relatively better basketball compared to, early in the season when they went on like an 18-game losing streak. If it wasn't for the Pistons' historic losing streak, the Spurs would have definitely gotten more spotlight. Haven't liked some of the coaching from Greg Popovich, admittedly, this year, even though I think he's still one of the best and is perfect for Victor Wembanyama. There are just a few bumps in the road, too many bumps in the road for my liking, even though I expected the Spurs to be a lottery team. They just should not be this bad. They should not be an 11-win team. So the Spurs get a D- for me. Don't want to go too long explaining why. Then we move to the Portland Trail Blazers, and they get a D for the year so far. Another team that obviously projected to be in the lottery. It's amazing how incompetent they look when they don't have their veterans playing, like Malcolm Brogdon. But they have found some bright spots. I think Duop Reith is somebody I highlighted in one of my role player videos. I think that's somebody that will be absolutely an NBA rotation player. Scoot Henderson has been playing better. Really don't know why people are thrashing the Scoot Henderson pick like we don't know that point guards take a while to develop, and very rarely do they come out the gates just firing on all cylinders. DeAndre Ayton has been playing better recently, but I'm still massively disappointed in him as someone who is very high on DeAndre Ayton. Anthony Simons could shoot better from two, but again, they're a lottery team. I wasn't expecting them to make the play-in or anything. I actually thought they would have the worst record in the NBA. So with all that in mind, I'll give the Blazers a D+. I was going to give them a D, but they are better than what I expected them to be, so I will give them a D+. Then we move to the Memphis Grizzlies, and look, I'm just amazed at the job Taylor Jenkins is doing. The fact that the Grizzlies have 20 wins is a miracle, especially how they looked in the 25 games without Ja Morant. Then it looked like they might have some hope when Ja Morant came back, but then he was knocked out for the season. Marcus Smart has been knocked out for most of this season. Steven Adams obviously was out, then he got traded. Don't have Brandon Clark. The injury report for the Grizzlies every game just has 10 players on it. And now they're playing guys like Gigi Jackson, the youngest player in the NBA, getting good minutes. Vince Williams has given the Grizzlies good minutes and extended him to a nice contract that'll actually benefit the Grizzlies long term. Jaren Jackson is figuring out how to be a more creative and expansive scorer, which is a development I've liked this year from the Grizzlies. Desmond Bane leveled up before an ankle sprain took him out, and he's probably going to be gone for at least a few more weeks. This was supposed to be a 6 to 8 week injury. They're just out there fighting hard and playing hard, and given the circumstances and the injuries they had to deal with, which does factor into the calculus for grading this team, and really, I thought the Grizzlies would be able to tread water without Ja Morant, but it was clear that they weren't able to as much as I thought. Then he came back, and then I made a video about how they could actually still make the play-in. Then he got knocked out for the season, and then everybody just started dropping like flies for the Grizzlies. But overall, they've still fought hard, and I'm going to give the Grizzlies, I was going to give them a C-, but just for the season they've had and how they are still out there fighting, I'm going to give the Grizzlies a C. Moving on to the Houston Rockets, this one is quite simple. They get a C. They are absolutely a much better basketball team than last year. Still need to figure out this weird Jalen Green stuff because he clearly just hasn't fit in yet with Ime Udoka, but they upgraded the coaching position. They got upgrades in free agency signings that I'm on record saying I was fine with at the time, and not the overpays that I thought a lot of people were making a mountain out of a molehill with that. They're better defensively. They're a top 5 defense. Very shitty road team, despite being 19-9 at home, but they play organized basketball. They play solid basketball with adults in the room. Alperen Şengün has established himself as a cornerstone franchise center for that team because under Steven Silas, it was just very weird for them to try to not accept that Alperen Şengün was a good player they should probably build their offense around. But you figured out now Şengün is your guy. You still got guys like Jabari Smith, who I am very high on, Fred VanVleet, an adult at point guard, Dylan Brooks, somebody that could give a much-needed edge to that team. Still a very good player despite all the antics. Amin Thompson's been playing better. Cam Whitmore also is somebody that could, ease the pain of the Rockets potentially losing Jalen Green down the road if he doesn't figure it out soon with this team. Giving the Rockets a solid C. Then we move to the Jazz, and who knows what this grade actually might look like by the end of the season, but I thought the Jazz were one of the more fun teams in the NBA to watch for the last month and a half, especially after changing up their starting lineup, putting Colin Sexton in there. And the Jazz for a while were one of the more hotter teams in the NBA in recent memory. Lauri Markkanen playing great, Sexton playing great, Chris Dunn, one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. But then you trade away key rotation guys like Simone Fontecchio, who was starting and was really the Jazz's only credible wing on that roster. Then you trade away Kelly Olynyk. It's clear what the Jazz are doing. They're playing for a higher draft pick now, and I get it. It would have been the move I probably would have taken as GM, but the Jazz were a fun team to watch and looked like a good team, at least in the Western Conference. In the grand scheme of the Western Conference, relatively, they were a good team fighting for a play-in spot, but it's clear the road the Jazz are taking. But regardless, to this point, to the All-Star break, they get a C from me. Then we move to the Golden State Warriors, who have been playing much better basketball since the turn of the new year and really in the last few weeks. They are 27-26, one game above 500, had a very promising start the first 10 games of the season, and then just a fucking roller coaster that Warrior fans have been on, whether it's Steve Kerr not playing young guys, not sticking with, what's working in a game in terms of lineups, and opting to close with the guys that got them the 4 championships. Then the whole Kuminga thing, not playing Brandon Pajemski in that Sacramento in-season tournament game, just a game after saying you need to get Brandon Pajemski in the rotation, the Draymond plural suspensions, then finally figuring out a rotation. Now Klay's coming off the bench, had 35 points off the bench. Klay reconciling with not being the player that he used to be, which I do feel bad for Klay going through that. But the Warriors have been playing better. It's been rocky. Chris Paul, of course, got hurt again, and he's probably still going to be coming off the bench heavily when he comes back. But Steve Kerr has figured some things out. But to me, figuring it out a step or two too late, but I guess it's better than never. So the Warriors, with everything that's gone on in their season, I'm still not giving up stock on the Warriors because I've said on this channel, if the Warriors make the playoffs, when you have Steph Curry, you always have a shot. Draymond has come back and the Warriors defense has been better. The offense has been better. Now you have this starting lineup of Pajemski, Steph, Kuminga, Wiggins, and Draymond, which is much needed athleticism for them, especially at the wing spots. Kuminga's been averaging damn near 20 a game since that Athletic article dropped, where he basically was sneak dissing Steve Kerr and saying that he had no faith in him. But the Warriors, I've been back on track a little bit. But overall, just taking everything into the season, I expected better of this team. This was a team I had in the Western Conference Finals before the season started. I'm giving the Warriors a C-. Then we go to the last team because once again, I just can't help myself from going too long with these damn teams. The Los Angeles Lakers, they get a C- for me, and it's not because of anything LeBron and AD are doing. They're playing at all NBA caliber levels. This is mostly player-based and mainly head coaching-based. I just really don't understand Darvin Ham's lineup decisions this year. Started with moving Austin Reeves to the bench and just trying out different lineup combinations that didn't involve putting Jared Vanderbilt, and I know he was injured to start the season and missed a lot of games, but even when he's been back, just the hesitancy to go with the starting lineup of D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, LeBron, Vanderbilt, and Anthony Davis. Even if Vanderbilt is a minus shooting, you still only played him like 20 minutes a game last year and 20 minutes a game for the playoffs. It's a good starting lineup, was a plus 22 in net rating last year. But then you move Austin Reeves to the bench this year, bring him back, move D'Angelo Russell to the bench, bring him back, and then just trying all these roundabout ways to not go to the starting lineup that worked in the playoffs, and then shuffling through Rui Hachimura and Taurean Prince, instead of just going with what worked and what got you to the Western Conference Finals last year post-trade deadline. And then this year, the LeBron, D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, Jared Vanderbilt, and Anthony Davis lineup only played 68 possessions this year, but is a plus 39.6. I don't know why Darvin Ham just made this harder on himself. Starting lineups where LeBron is basically the only ball handler when conventional wisdom should say you should help out LeBron, especially now that he's 39 fucking years old. I just don't get the decisions from Darvin Ham this year. Has really hamstrung the Lakers, but they have been playing better recently. Their offense has finally picked it up the last 2 weeks. They're 4 games above 500, but I just felt like this shouldn't have been hard. They've just made it unnecessarily harder on themselves this season. And because of that, again, it's mostly coaching based, but I'm giving the Lakers a fat C- for this season because this was a team I had as a Western Conference contender going into the year. Darvin Ham has just made some head-scratching decisions with lineups and all that stuff that just really made it harder than what it should be. So the Lakers get a C- for me. That's part 1 of this video. See, I told you guys I would not have been able to keep every team into one video, but stay tuned for part 2 as we go through seeds 8 through 1, and we'll see you then.